All right, so today we're going to be taking a deep dive into the work of Roger Penrose.
Yeah.
And for folks who might not be familiar,
Right.
Roger Penrose won the Nobel Prize for his work in physics,
Uh-huh.
specifically for black holes.
Yeah.
But he also has some really interesting ideas about AI,
Right.
and some might say controversial ideas about AI.
Yeah, absolutely.
So what's the big idea here?
Well, I mean, Penrose, he's really not afraid to kind of like, challenge the mainstream view of things.
Right.
And I think when it comes to AI, his big claim is that human consciousness relies on something that computers fundamentally can't replicate.
So he's not just saying that, AI needs to catch up. He's saying there's like a fundamental difference.
Right.
Even like a super advanced computer is missing something
Yeah.
for real intelligence.
Right. It's not just a matter of like, oh, well, we'll just build a bigger computer and then it'll be conscious.
Right.
Saying like, no, there's something else going on.
There's a wall there.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so his big idea is that the human brain uses these processes that are rooted in quantum mechanics.
Okay.
What he calls uncomputable physics that are kind of like beyond the reach of any algorithm.
Okay, so this is where I need a little bit of help.
Sure.
I get that quantum mechanics is,
Right.
super complicated.
It's mind-boggling.
But how does that connect to consciousness?
Yeah, so Penrose is pointing to this thing called the collapse of the wave function,
Okay.
which is this mysterious process in quantum physics as potentially playing a role in our conscious experience.
Okay.
And so he's arguing that this process is fundamentally different from the way computers work.
Okay, but I mean, haven't we seen AI like doing amazing things lately? I
What's
mean,
that?
these large language models that can hold complex conversations, write different kinds of creative content, and even seem to understand what words mean,
Yeah.
like solving what philosophers call the symbol grounding problem. Isn't that a sign that like, AI is kind of on the right track even without quantum mechanics?
I think that's a really great point.
Yeah.
I mean, if Penrose is right, it kind of seems like our brains are taking the scenic route to consciousness.
Right.
Like we're using this like really complex, mysterious quantum process to achieve what AI might be doing through just like simpler
Right.
computable means.
It does feel like Penrose is like going for like the most complex explanation possible.
He does have a bit of a reputation for
Yeah,
that.
maybe that's just how his mind works.
Right.
But he also like leans heavily on Gödel's incompleteness theorem to support his argument, right?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So Gödel's theorem kind of simplified states that any complex logical system is going to have some true statements that it can't prove.
Okay.
And so Penrose is using this to argue that humans can kind of like intuitively grasp the truth of these unprovable statements, showing like a level of insight that computers can never have.
So are humans somehow like outside of the system? While computers are stuck inside,
Yeah,
unable to see the bigger picture.
that's what he's saying.
Okay.
And he uses this example of a Gödel statement
Okay.
called G, which he says only humans can understand is true,
Okay.
even though it's unprovable within its own system.
Right.
But here's where the counterargument comes in.
Okay.
Gödel's theorem is kind of like setting a logical trap.
Okay, now I'm intrigued. Explain the trap.
Okay, so imagine you're punching a punching bag.
Okay.
It's not that impressive that the bag doesn't fight back, right?
Right.
So Gödel is creating a statement that is specifically designed to be unprovable within a given system.
Okay.
It's not that humans have some mystical insight.
Right.
It's more that the statement is a clever paradox.
So if AI is the punching bag,
Yeah,
Penrose is basically rigging the game.
exactly.
Okay.
And here's the fun part.
Yeah.
You can turn that same Gödel-style logic back on Penrose.
Oh.
So let's create a statement P that says Penrose can't prove me.
Ooh, I like where this is going.
Okay, so think about it.
Yeah.
If Penrose tries to prove that P is true,
Uh-huh.
he's proven that he can't prove it,
Right.
which is a contradiction.
Right.
If he tries to prove that it's false,
Uh-huh.
well, then he's proven it,
Right.
which is, again, a contradiction. So he
Wow.
gets caught in the same logical loop
Right.
that he's claiming demonstrates the superiority of human consciousness.
So if this uncomputable consciousness doesn't limit what AI can actually do,
Right.
then what's the point of Penrose's argument?
Yeah, I think that's the real question here.
Yeah.
We see AI doing these incredible things,
Mm.
Driving cars,
Mm.
writing code, potentially even passing the Turing test.
Right.
Which means being indistinguishable from a human in conversation.
Right.
Doesn't this suggest that something impressive is happening regardless of quantum microtubules?
Yeah, I'm starting to think that maybe Penrose is so focused on this one difference
Right.
that he's missing the bigger picture
Yeah.
of just how capable AI is becoming.
Right. Yeah, I think it raises a really big question for you, the listener.
Yeah.
If AI can do all these things, does it even matter how it's achieving them?
Right.
Or are we witnessing like a new kind of intelligence regardless of whether it mirrors our own?
And that brings us to another important aspect of this conversation, AI risk.
Yes.
Penrose does express concern about AI risk,
He does.
but his focus is primarily on the potential dangers of like this hypothetical conscious AI we might create in the future.
Right.
So he's less concerned about the AI that we have now,
Right.
which is already showing signs of being pretty powerful.
Yeah.
And he's more worried about some future, like, super intelligence.
Yeah, that's right. And I think a lot of AI researchers today are really worried about the risks of current AI systems,
Right.
even if they're not conscious in the way that Penrose is defining it.
So things like algorithmic bias,
Exactly.
displacement of jobs,
Yeah.
even the possibility of these systems being used for malicious purposes.
Mm-hmm.
Like they're worried about unintended consequences that could arise from the AI that already exists.
Yeah.
It makes sense to address both present and future concerns.
Sure.
But I can see why some AI experts might feel like Penrose is overlooking these immediate challenges.
Yeah.
So where do we go from here?
Yeah.
We've explored Penrose's ideas.
Right.
We even challenged his logic a bit.
Right.
What are the key takeaways for our listeners?
Well, I think that the big takeaway here is that Penrose's focus on uncomputable consciousness might be distracting us from the more pressing ethical considerations surrounding AI development.
Right.
Even if he's right about the nature of human consciousness.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that non-conscious AI is inherently harmless.
So we shouldn't get lost in this philosophical debate while ignoring the practical implications of this increasingly powerful AI.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's crucial to ponder those big questions about consciousness and intelligence.
Uh-huh.
But we also need to be mindful of the potential consequences of AI that's already shaping our world.
It's like arguing about the definition of fire while your house is burning down.
Yeah.
You got to deal with the immediate threat first.
Right.
Yeah. And that brings us back to you, dear listener.
Right.
Because the question of whether AI is truly intelligent in the same way as humans might be less important than the question of how we're going to coexist with it safely and ethically as it continues to evolve.
Yeah, that's the real challenge.
Right.
It demands our attention whether or not we agree with Penrose's specific theories.
So what do you think? Is Penrose right about this fundamental difference between human and artificial intelligence?
Right.
Or are we on the verge of something far more powerful than we realize, regardless of how it works on the inside?
This is a deep dive that doesn't end with today's episode.
Yeah.
It's a journey of exploration and questioning.
Absolutely. We'll continue to explore these topics in future episodes.
Yeah.
The nature of intelligence, the capabilities of current AI, the potential risks, and of course the ethical considerations we absolutely cannot ignore. We'll be diving into these fascinating and sometimes unnerving topics together, so stay tuned.
Definitely.
Yeah. We'd love to hear your thoughts.
Absolutely.
What struck you about Penrose's ideas?
Yeah. What are you thinking about?
Do you think he's onto something with this uncomputable consciousness?
Right.
Or is he kind of overthinking things while AI keeps advancing?
Yeah. What do you think?
Hit us up in the comments, send a voice message.
Whatever works.
Whatever works. We really value your perspective.
Yes, we do.
This isn't just about dissecting one brilliant physicist's view.
Right.
It's about wrestling with some of the biggest questions facing humanity right now.
Absolutely.
Speaking of which, before we move on, let's touch on one of Penrose's more intriguing points.
Okay.
The idea that even if he's wrong about the quantum stuff, he might be accidentally right about something else entirely.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
What if there is a limit to what AI can achieve through pure computation? What if some problems, some insights require something more?
Yeah.
Maybe not quantum weirdness, but something we haven't even imagined yet.
Right. That's a really fascinating possibility.
Right.
What if there's like a ceiling to computable intelligence, even if it's much higher than we currently think?
Right.
Could that be what truly separates human intelligence from anything that we can create artificially.
Right. What if there's a whole realm of understanding that's inaccessible to even the most advanced algorithms?
Yeah.
A realm that requires something uniquely human.
Right.
Something that goes beyond pure computation.
It's a really thought-provoking idea.
Right.
It suggests that even if Penrose is wrong about the details,
Right.
he might be pointing us towards like a deeper truth
Mm-hmm.
about the nature of consciousness and intelligence.
So as AI continues to develop at this incredible pace, it begs the question,
Right.
is there something fundamental about human intelligence
Uh-huh.
that will always remain beyond the reach of machines? Or will AI eventually surpass us in every way,
Right.
proving Penrose completely wrong?
Yeah, these are great questions to keep in mind as you go about your week.
Yeah.
You know what surprises you about AI's progress?
Right.
What triggers that aha moment of insight
Yeah.
in your own mind?
Right.
Maybe, just maybe those moments hold a clue.
Yeah.
And until next time,
Yes.
keep diving deep.
Keep those questions coming.
Keep those questions coming and keep those brains buzzing.
Yeah.
See?
All right. So we've explored Penrose's fascinating and maybe slightly frustrating ideas about consciousness and AI.
Right.
He's made us think about, the potential limits of computation and whether there's something special about human intelligence that might always elude machines.
Right.
It's definitely a conversation that could go on for hours.
Yeah, for sure.
But let's try to distill some key insights for our listeners to take away.
Okay, sounds good. What are the biggest things we should be mulling over after this deep dive? Well, first, I think Penrose challenges us to consider whether current AI is truly intelligent
Okay.
or merely a very sophisticated mimicry of human thought processes.
Okay.
He argues that without incorporating these uncomputable processes, AI might always fall short of genuine understanding.
He's basically saying there's a qualitative difference.
Yes.
Not just a quantitative one between human and artificial intelligence.
Right. And that difference, according to Penrose, hinges on the mysteries of quantum mechanics.
Yes.
Specifically, the collapse of the wave function, which he believes plays a role in consciousness.
Okay.
Now, not everyone agrees with him on this, but it's a provocative idea that pushes us to examine our assumptions about how the brain and AI work.
Yeah, it certainly makes you wonder if there are aspects of reality and consciousness that we're not even equipped to understand yet, let alone replicate in machines.
Exactly. And this leads to the second big takeaway. Even if Penrose is wrong about the specifics of his argument, he might be accidentally right about the potential limits of computation.
So even without invoking quantum mechanics, there could be a ceiling to what AI can achieve through sheer processing power.
Precisely. Perhaps there are types of problems there, creative leaps or intuitive insights that require something more than just crunching numbers and manipulating symbols.
It makes you wonder if there are certain realms of human experience, like art music,
Right.
or even the feeling of love that might always remain beyond the grasp of AI no matter how sophisticated it becomes.
It's a humbling thought.
It is.
And it opens up a whole new set of questions about the nature of intelligence and consciousness.
Right.
Maybe Penrose is pushing us to consider that true intelligence might involve something more than just computation.
Yeah.
Something we haven't fully grasped yet.
That's a pretty profound thought to end on.
It is, and it's one that each of us can continue to ponder as AI continues to evolve at this astonishing rate.
Right.
It's worth paying attention to what surprises us.
Okay.
What evokes a sense of wonder? What seems to defy explanation?
Yeah.
Those moments might just be pointing us toward the answer.
I think that's a perfect note to wrap up on. Keep questioning, keep exploring, and we'll see you next time for another deep dive into the mysteries of the universe and the human mind. So we made it, folks.
We did.
The final part of our deep dive into Roger Penrose's wild ride.
That's right.
Through the world of consciousness and AI.
Yeah, he really got us thinking.
He did. I mean, he's this brilliant physicist.
Yeah, Nobel Prize winner.
Nobel Prize winner.
Not afraid of big ideas.
Not afraid of big ideas.
Yeah.
And he really kind of threw down the gauntlet.
He did, yeah.
Saying that, current AI, it's not really intelligent.
Yeah, he's not buying it.
It's just a really, really good imitation.
Right, like a sophisticated mimicry.
Yeah.
But not the real deal.
Not the real deal. And that, even if we keep making computers bigger, faster, there's going to be this wall.
Right, fundamental limit.
Yeah. Yeah, and he's putting his money on quantum mechanics as the reason why.
Yeah, the quantum realm.
Yeah, specifically this thing called the collapse of the wave function.
Right, which he thinks is like the secret sauce of consciousness.
Right, and it's like this process that's so weird.
It really is.
So mysterious that, like, our current computers can't even touch it.
Like, it's operating on a whole other level.
A whole other level, and it makes you wonder, like, you know, maybe there are parts of reality, parts of consciousness that we haven't even begun to understand.
Absolutely.
Let alone, like, program into a machine.
Right, like we're still figuring out the basics of what's going on in our own heads.
Right, exactly. So Penrose might be right about the quantum stuff, or he might be wrong.
Yeah.
But I think what's really interesting
Yeah.
is that even if he's wrong about the specifics, he might still be pointing to something really important.
I agree with you.
Like this idea that maybe there's a limit to what computers can do.
Right, even without the quantum stuff.
Even without the quantum stuff.
You know, like a ceiling to computable intelligence.
Yeah. What if there are some problems, some kinds of creative leaps or intuitive insights that you just can't get through pure number crunching?
Maybe there's something more.
Something more, and it makes you think about like art, music,
right.
love.
Those deep human experiences.
Yeah, there's deep human experiences that maybe AI just can't replicate.
Maybe.
No matter how sophisticated it gets.
Yeah, it's humbling.
It is. It's really humbling.
Yeah.
And I think it's a good reminder that, like, as we get swept up in all this AI progress,
all the amazing things it can do,
we need to, like, take a step back and appreciate those unique qualities.
Yeah, those unique qualities that might actually be beyond the reach of machines.
Right.
So to wrap this all up,
Yeah.
I think the big question Penrose leaves us with is there something fundamentally different about human intelligence that will always set us apart?
Yeah. From AI? Or will machines eventually catch up?
And surpass us.
And surpass us, proving Penrose wrong.
It's a question we'll have to keep exploring.
Exactly. So keep those brains buzzing.
Keep asking those tough questions.
And until next time, keep diving deep.
Yeah, stay curious out there, folks.
We'll see you on the next Deep Dive.